Have you always wanted to try your hand at eggplant, but wanted to do something different? Well, this is definitely different. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and it's so amazing, guys. You won't believe how incredibly delicious this dish is. It's called Zaalouk, which is a Moroccan dish that we're going to show you how easy it is to make. For that recipe, head on over to kcknh.com. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share. This dish originates in Morocco, where there are some incredibly intense colors. There's spices all over the place. Their street markets have so much variety that you can actually probably get lost in all of it. There's so much you can experience here. And believe it or not, the spices that are common to their cuisine you can find locally. For the most part, you can go to regular stores. But the one beautiful thing about this is if you're into farm stands, this is how you're going to get yourself started. You can serve this hot or cold. You can have it as is. Have it with some fresh bread, top your rice. This has multiple choices that you can do with it. It's amazing, guys. Now, you do have the ability to make some decisions on your own. You can use fresh or stewed tomatoes. I am using the last of last year's stewed tomatoes that I canned up. Certainly wanted to make sure I make good use of these. So we're just making sure to drain the juice if you opt for the stewed tomato side of things. I'm going to actually break up these stewed tomatoes into strips, if you will, as best as possible. And I'm going to continue to do that over the strainer here, which is in a bowl. We're going to make sure that we get all of the juice reserved. You're not going to use all of it. I actually saved the rest of what I didn't use for like cocktails. No, I don't like wasting anything, so anything that was left over was definitely repurposed into other things. Now, if you go the chopped tomatoes route, just keep them as universal as possible. For me, I find stewed tomatoes have more sweetness because I've processed them through the canning process. So after cutting them up with my fingers, I've got more juice that I've retained. I'm going to put it into my container. And the stewed tomatoes are going to go right back in that bowl. And as you can see here, we've got just enough of the body of the tomato saved. And that's going to be perfect for this dish. Now, keep in mind, I have a big recipe. It uses 2 pounds of eggplant. It doesn't look like that here, but it does make quite a bit. You're going to score the eggplant with a knife, and that's going to help allow that eggplant to actually prevent itself from exploding, but I want to retain the skin during the cooking process. Now with the lemons, I'm keeping it simple. We're going to cut them in half. Eventually, I'm going to toss these on a grill. You don't have to grill the lemon. In fact, you don't have to use the grill at all if you don't have one. However, it is summertime. I did most of the cooking outside. I want to keep my AC going. So right here, we've got the eggplant scored, we've got the lemon sliced, the tomatoes have been prepped, and it's very important for your mise en place ahead of time. Garlic is always going to be one of those. Just do up a whole bunch of it. I usually give a marker of 2 to 3 ounces. I'm not giving you tablespoons on the garlic, guys. I actually weighed this out because of the amount of the ingredients I'm using. I give myself a 2 to 3 ounce marker to work with. Sometimes I'll use more. So that's your decision making that you have to do on your own. What you do see in the video, that is not 2 to 3 ounces. That's probably about 6. Yeah, that was about 5 or 6 now that I remember breaking them down. But certainly start with 2 ounces worth. You are going to need to consider getting used to using a scale for most of my recipes, guys, because I do not use cups. A lot of times they are very inferior. So we are outside. I am getting everything set up here. We got the eggplants and the lemon right on the grates. And don't be afraid if a little fire comes through. That's a perfect element that you want to work with for some charring. And into a bowl, I'm just going to show you the texture that we want to look for. We don't want to fully grill the eggplant, but the purpose is I want those nice stringy threads. It hasn't been cooked all the way, but it's going to still make my life easier when I remove the skin. Now, do you have to remove the skin? No. Do you want to floss your own teeth? That's your choice. I purposely kept the skin on because I wanted to maintain the integrity of the flesh. Now, I had to turn the light upward so I could see exactly what I was doing. Black's sometimes a hard color for me to look at, but just to be able to show you what I had to do, I am just basically piercing through with my fingers to grab that skin, removing the flesh, and it's staying right in the bowl. So I do my best to try to work as clean as possible, especially with charred vegetables. And once that's all said and done, I've got that in a separate bowl. The meat is beautiful, and it still allows me to do the rest of the cook on this when we get it to the pan on the stove. As always, I know there are some folks who do not like cilantro. You can certainly use parsley if that is your preference. I personally prefer using cilantro. It goes into a lot of Middle Eastern, North African, a lot of Mediterranean dishes use cilantro. And of course, you have to be very good about cleaning your green herbs. They are coming in from outside, guys, so you never know if you're going to find dust, sand, little tiny pebbles. Yes, you might even find a bug. So do a good job cleaning them. Either a tea towel or a paper towel. Pat them dry. And that'll give you a chance to go through that bunch, remove anything that doesn't belong there. I was actually happy to see I actually had some microgreen version in here. So yeah, Mama took that out. Now with the paper towels, truth be told, I find it's easier to work with. When it comes to the herbs, for me, it's just about keeping it as clean as possible. Now I did retain the top part of the cilantro for garnishing. I have other dishes I'm working on. But for this one, I am going to do a fine chop. And this does reduce in size the more you chop it, guys. So you might spend a few minutes if you do this route and put it right into a container. And that's going to be brought over to the stove as well. Now, we are going to grab our spices ahead of time. One of the things about North African, Indian, any dish that uses a combination of multiple spices, I have to look at this from a, how raw do I want it? Not very raw at all. So we're going to do a bloom into the pan with some olive oil eventually. So that's why I'm getting the spices all ahead of time and into its own little happy bowl. And we're using common spices. You can actually go to the dollar store for this. Things like cumin seeds, coriander powder, cardamom powder, paprika. You can find it. So medium-high heat, just a little bit of olive oil. You could see that pan was already nice and hot. So we're going to bring the flavors to life. You're going to start smelling it wicked fast. And after maybe a minute or two, not even, you're going to start smelling everything coming up to you, and that's a good indicator we're ready to get started with the cook. So into that same pan, we're going to start hitting it with the eggplant. Now, some folks like to chop the eggplant before going into the pan. Others like to do it the way I make it. I did so much research on how this is made. Some houses prefer using bell peppers in this. I used onions personally. I didn't like the way the bell peppers were looking locally, so I decided to hold off. But either way, you're going to get some sweetness out of the onions, or if you use bell peppers for this. And right into that pan, we're just going to marry everything together. And the beautiful part about this is we're going to get moisture coming out of those onions eventually. So we're just adding more flavor to the pan, but it will gradually cook off. And that's the perfect element you want to do. because you don't want to singe what you're cooking, but you certainly want to continue to stir everything so everything's touching the heat, everything's getting some spice, and they're getting a gentle coating of the olive oil we had in the pan. Now this is going to cook fast, guys, so this is one of those you cannot walk away. Right now we're going into the next phase of this by adding our stewed tomatoes. I put some of the tomato sauce or puree into this, and I mixed the garlic in. And I'm going to hit this pan for the next 5 minutes. I want to bring everything up to temp. That's the first rule of thumb here. And that's when I want to start slowly cooking this down. So I'm going to eventually reduce the heat to medium. Now we are going to get more extracted fluids coming from the tomatoes. That is okay. And we're going to cook this down. It's so stinking simple, guys. I can't stress it enough. This is low maintenance. Now, gradually, I will add some more of my garlicky tomato puree. I love to be able to get as much flavor in here as I can. And I'm going to start smelling that garlic coming through probably after 3 to 5 minutes of adding the next stage. So I'm going to let this sit here while I put in some fresh grilled lemon. The acid really makes a difference. Are you going to miss it? Not really. But I'm telling you right now, that lemon is a big game changer. So get that lemon into the pan. I started with half a lemon just to get a taste for it. And eventually we're going to get this off the heat because we don't want to singe this. You can take it as far as you want. You can have a little bit of the juice. Or you can cook it down so it's spreadable consistency for like breads, pita breads. You can put it in a sandwich. Put it on top of rice. Guys, you could eat this right out of the pan, nice and hot if you wanted. Or cool it down. That's what I love about a lot of cuisines out there. You could do this or that. I love the ability to change things up on my own decision making. That's the best part. Now, I want you to take a look at the beautiful colors that are coming together because that lemon really does intensify the tomatoes beautifully. And at this point, we can say we're ready for that chopped cilantro. Use it to your own liking or don't use it at all. But it does make a difference with this dish. Everything comes together beautifully. And now that we've got it off the heat, let's show you what we did with it. Yeah, this dish made me wicked happy, guys. Oh, if you only knew. This is a great way to experience eggplant in a different way. It's healthy, it's delicious, and guys, this is one of the most beautiful things you can do if you can support local. As always, please let me know if you guys need any help or if you get any questions, but certainly let me know if you tried this dish. Always be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And guys, happy cooking. Enjoy.